Hi, students of South Amboy Elementary School. This is Mrs. Buchanan, your vice principal. We are still meeting to talk about Women's History Month, which is celebrated the whole month of March. So this is going to be our last Friday that we talk about Women's History Month together. But even though it's our last month that we talk about it together, I hope you continue to research and read about amazing women. So far, we have talked about Misty Copeland, who was a talented, she's strong, and she's a brave dancer. Next, we discussed Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was a determined and intelligent judge. Last week, we talked about Georgia O'Keeffe. She was a persistent and creative artist. And this week, we're talking about Mae Jemison. Mae Jemison was the first African-American woman to become an astronaut. She was born on October 17, 1956 in Alabama. She was the youngest of 3 children, and she's always been interested in science. Jemison graduated from high school at the age of 16. Then she received a scholarship to attend Stanford University in California. She graduated from there in 1977 with a degree in chemical engineering. After Stanford, Jemison attended medical school at Cornell University in New York. She received her medical degree in 1981. She worked as a doctor first in Los Angeles, California, and then with the Peace Corps in West Africa. Then Jemison applied to NASA to become an astronaut. She entered NASA's astronaut program in 1987, and in 1992, she flew aboard the shuttle Endeavour as the science mission specialist. After retiring from NASA in 1993, Jemison found her own company, titled the Jemison Group. The company created new technologies, especially to help develop countries. Jemison also created an international science camp for teenagers. Now I'm going to play a video so you can hear from Jemison herself.
I grew up in the 60s. I lived on the south side of Chicago, and I was a young girl who loved to stare up at the stars. I imagined myself going there. I studied all the things about the Apollo program. I knew what mission was going to take place when, what it was supposed to accomplish. I decided to go to medical school because I wanted to do something called biomedical engineering. While I was in medical school, I had the opportunity to go and work in a Cambodian refugee camp. I went on a study group in Cuba. I worked with the flying doctors in East Africa. But I still wanted to go into space, so I applied. Picked up the phone. I called down the Johnson Space Center. I said, I would like an application to be an astronaut. They didn't laugh. I turned in the application. There may be a certain naivete when I say, when I applied to the astronaut program, I didn't even think about the fact of whether I would be the first African-American woman in space or anything like that. It didn't even cross my mind. I wanted to go into space. I couldn't have cared if there had been 1,000 people in space before me or whether there had been none. I wanted to go. I thought it was important to take to space with me things that represented people who sometimes are not included. So I took a poster of Judith Jamison performing the dance cry. I took a Bundu statue, which was for the Women's Society in West Africa. I took up a flag for the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, the oldest African-American women's sorority in the United States, because they hadn't been included. And I thought that was an important thing to do. For me, the experience was one that made me feel very connected with the universe. I felt my being was as much a part of this universe as any star, as any comet. It helped me to recognize that right now, we're in space. This Earth is part of that universe. That was my grand connection. And then I looked down and I saw Chicago. I thought about the little girl who had assumed she would go into space. what would my younger self have thought if she met me? And I think she would have been tickled.
All right. First, I'd like to thank all of you for listening. And I'd also like to give a special shout out to Michaela in Mrs. Kipper's class for suggesting that I do a presentation on Mae Jemison. So I hope hearing about all these amazing women have inspired you to continue to do research, continue to read, and learn about other famous people. Thanks again for listening. Have a great day.